A very good evening and hearty welcome to all the attendees of this webinar conducted on laws related to live-in relationships in India. This is Ananya, a high school student. I at Legend Leaders handle social media and content creation. This noon, I would like to deliver my immeasurable thanks to our honorable guest speaker, Exalted Advocate Rahul Tiwari, and all the attendees for gracing this webinar with their presence. Legit Leaders Amplifying Law is a platform that has been created with the idea of providing knowledge and opportunities to the people in the legal field. We understand the importance of on-field knowledge and tact and therefore aim to provide internships and publications from various highly esteemed firms to our members. Our mission is to amplify the knowledge of all the law aspirants. Your active participation is important throughout the session. Right now, we have everyone on mute to avoid background noises and distraction. Throughout the presentation, someone on staff will be managing the chat functionality. You can type your questions and comments in the question box throughout the presentation. I would also request all the participants to refrain themselves from typing anything but questions. Further, I would like to introduce our reputable guest for today's webinar. It is It's indeed a great privilege to deliver his introduction this evening. Mr. Rahul Tiwari is practicing as a criminal lawyer in Gurugram District Courts. He has completed his legal education from New Law College, Bharati Vidyapat, Pune. He has also obtained his LLM with 8.3 CGPA, specializing in cybercrime and economic offense. He has a strong passion for legal research and public speaking. He is founding and managing partner of LMS Associate, which is a MCA registered law firm. This firm also offers online legal education and training to law students and fresh graduates. He is also panel member of World Cybersecurity Forum. He has presented 25 research papers in various international and national seminars in Denmark, NLSIU Bangalore, BHU, CNLU Patna, IIT Hyderabad, NLU Odisha, Triple IT Allahabad, and Delhi University, and has 7 unpaid publications in prestigious journals, including the UGC approved one. Apart from legal practice and research, he loves teaching students. He has also been invited in NLU Delhi as a resource person in a national conference on protection of women from sexual harassment at workplace. After passing out from the law school, he has worked on Babri Masjid demolition case under AORMR Samshad as research associate and then worked as an associate at litigation firm Lamba and Lamba, Gurugram. He is now practicing in Delhi High Court, District Courts and Gurugram District Courts. Now, I would like to hand over the control to our highly virtuous and honorable guest of this noon, Advocate Rahul Tiwari.
Over to you, sir.
Actually, I was just putting my phone on the flight mode, to avoid last minute. So, so hello everyone, as you can see the introduction has been done. And may I know, Ananya, you're in, if I can hear, if I have heard clearly, you said you're in high school. Ananya,
Yes, sir.
you're in high school right now. I mean, class 11th or 12th?
12th.
Okay, that's really great. I mean, when I was in class 12th, I was, far away from all these things and I was into a very different company altogether. But I must appreciate that, I can see that you are very serious from this age.
Thank you, sir.
Hello again,
Thank you so
hello
much.
everyone. So today's webinar is on the topic called living, which most of you must have heard, or if you're a college student, you must have experienced. You all must have experienced around you. Okay, so and even when I was in Pune, many of my batchmates were also there in living relationship. So now it has actually become a trend as of in this I can say the in the age of globalization. So and it's no longer a taboo basically. So the point was for this webinar that I wanted to actually make you explain about the legalities of certain things which are related to live-in relationship. Because when we say that we are going to discuss the laws regarding live-in relationship, okay, am I audible now? Just a second. Just a second. Give me 1 minute. I'll be back in a minute. Please, just 1 minute.
Okay, sir.
So I just hope now I'm I'm audible to everyone and the voice is no longer an issue. So yeah, and thanks a lot, Vaishnavi, for reminding me this because there is actually some kind of network. I have started witnessing some kind of network problem last last few weeks. So thanks again. So when we talk about yeah, thanks Vaishnavi again. So when we talk about live-in relationship, we have to understand that we don't have any laws for live-in relationship as of now. Okay, and that is the sad part. And it is not that, but is live-in relationship. But see, we don't have any laws for live-in relationship, but at the same time, if someone asks that is live-in relationship illegal, then it is no. Then the answer is no. Live-in relationship is not illegal. So how come something can be legal at a point when there is no laws for that? Okay, so we will say it is due to the judicial interpretation. Just like there are, if you have read I assume that most of you are college student and most of you have read the Constitution of India. In that we find article 21. So if we find the article, if we read article 21, I mean the original draft, I mean the article 20, Constitution of India from of 1950, then if you will find that there were many things which were missing in the original draft, and there are a lot of things which were subsequently added with the way of judicial interpretation. Judicial interpretation means suppose a problem has cropped up, judiciary takes into its cognizance and say that whether it's a fundamental right or not, or whether this thing, even if there is no law available, then judiciary decides that whether it's illegal or whether it's illegal. Just like in the judgment of Mohini Jain versus State of Karnataka, the issue raised was that is right to education a fundamental right? Till that time, right to education was not a fundamental right, even in the legislation. But after the Supreme Court, gave the legislation, it was held that right to education is also a fundamental right under Article 21. And later on, with the way of constitutional amendment, right to amendment was added in the Article 21 as Article 21A. Okay, which actually talks about that free and compulsory education up till the age of 14. In the similar manner, very recently, in 2017, 16 and 17, it was again the issue was raised in the Supreme Court that is right to privacy a fundamental right or not? And again, in the K. Puttaswamy versus Union of India, he was a retired judge. In that judgment, it was held that right to privacy is also a fundamental right and is protected under Article 21. In the same manner, with the way of judicial interpretation, it has been held that relationship, even if we don't have any laws for that, even if we don't have any proper legislation for that, it is still legal in India. And all those famous judgments were the Indra Sharma judgment and Veluswamy judgment, which I will discuss during this course of this webinar. Okay. So now, what is Puttaswamy versus Union of India 2017? Okay. So this was the name of judgment. So see, actually, what happens that first we have to understand basically what is law and what is the relation of a law with human being. See, law arises from a human behavior. So the purpose of law is to regulate the human behavior in a way that the harmony is maintained in the society. And obviously there is a proper administration of the law. And the thing is, see, if we see all the, if you read the jurisprudence or even the law of torts, so basic source, what are the basic sources of the law? First is the custom. Religion is also secondary source of law, not the primary one. Precedent and legislation, all these are the basic source of law. So whenever a law is legislated, these are the things which is taken into consideration. And the point is, see, customs, even if it is very ancient, it changes from time to time. So if we read our ancient scriptures, or if we read about the the society of prehistoric era, the concept of live-in relationship always existed there. But with the passage of time, like when we entered into all of you who are preparing for UPSC especially, and obviously if you're preparing for UPSC, you'll have to go through the history. And if we read history, then the history is always divided into three parts. Ancient history, medieval history, which we call it as a dark age, and the modern history. Modern history means from the 18th century to the till the independence of India. Okay, so if we see that all those customary practice which we can see in the present society is from the medieval period, which is also called the dark age. Okay, and it is same in the India also, and it was same in the European country also. And that is why the concept of live-in relationship was never in the customary practice from the medieval age. So that is why we can say that live-in relationship in all the religion, it is not recognized as a standard practice. But if we see that live-in relationship is something, I would say that even in the parts, like in the Gujarat, there exists a custom called Maitri Kara. It is extremely similar to the practice of live-in relationship. And then there are certain other customary practice which exist in the some parts of Rajasthan and Madhya Pradesh, they are also basically very much similar to the concept of live-in relationship. So the contention is that is live-in relationship against the morality, the first contention of this webinar, and that is live-in relationship against the religious practice, or is the live-in relationship a proper alternative to marriage? So all these things we are going to discuss in the webinar, and in the recommendation, I will, to the best of my knowledge and to the best of my ability, I'll try to prove it. So now, basically, let's move forward. See, why live-in relationship has developed and has gained such a huge momentum. See, if we see the dynamics of the society, the only relation which the society accepted was between a man and a woman, and that too through a system of marriage. Okay, and what was the purpose of marriage? So that a person can live together, they can cohabitate, and they can procreate children, and they can start their own family life. And this was the standard practice which existed in the society. But now there are many individuals who cannot become part of this practice, which are the LGBTQ community. Obviously, the marriage becomes a huge issue in that community, because they never get it is it is the failure on our part that they never got the inclusiveness which they deserve. And why? Something which was with them from their birth. Okay, so and why if that and why now if we think that why if the marriage has existed and it has been in practice, and even in all the religion it has been existed in such a manner, then why the live-in relationship has but before moving forward, it is not that the live-in relationship is a part of few customary practice in the Hinduism also, but even if you read the Islam also, there exists a concept of mutta marriage. Okay, in Shia Muslims. Okay, so that practice is also very much similar to live-in relationship, where the couple decides that they are going to reside together for this many period, this much amount of meher is going to be there, and after that expiry of the period, we can see that if we want to continue the marriage or we have to dissolve it. Okay, so it is extremely similar to the live-in relationship. So why in last 3 decades has gained the momentum? Because the institution of marriage had its own a lot of issues, like a rigidity of caste system, rigidity of religion in the marriage. There was a lack of choice in the marriage, and plus in the last 3 decades, if we see that the Indian society has opened up, not on the part of social issues, but on the economic front. The market has been opened, and the thing is that there was a lot of global investment, a lot of job opportunity was created, and then what actually happened, that there was mass migration of youth from tier 2 cities, from tier 2 and tier 3 cities to the tier 1 cities for the search of better revenues, and for to utilize the benefit of all those jobs which were being created. Okay, so at that point when the youth got a financial independence, so and obviously all the youth has grown up seeing the lacunas in the marriage, the rigidity, and all those I won't say the disadvantage of marriage. Okay, I still believe in that institution, but some of the disadvantages practiced in the marriage in many families. So that is why it decided to move towards something new, and the best option ever which was available to them, and which has now again become available to them, is the marriage, is the live-in relationship. Okay, and because live-in relationship provides them their right to choice. They can choose their partner accordingly to with whom they want to share their household. The live-in relationship it provided the benefit, it provided them economic economic independence, and also it provided them an easy in and easy out relationship. Like, they come into a living relationship, they stay together for a particular period, and if they find that it is not being taken place, or I would say that the relation is not being working out for both the couples, they dissolve their relationship and they move out very quickly, which is extremely difficult in the marriage. Okay, and if we see that, what I will say that is the live-in relationship or even the love marriage. Let's forget the live-in relationship, because see, that's why I'm the reason why I'm taking so much time to explain the historical point of view is that because it affects all the family life, so it is extremely essential to first understand the historical point of view. So forget live-in relationship for 1 minute, and if someone say that is love marriage against the concept of Indian culture or even the Hindu religion, then again the answer is no. Why? Because if we read, when you'll read family law, when you'll read Hindu marriages, you aren't obviously, if you're doing 5 years law, you will definitely read the sociology, and in sociology you will find when you'll read the chapter of marriage and family, you will come across with the concept that in Hindu religion there exist 8 forms of marriage, and in one of the form was Gandharva Vivah. Okay, Gandharva Vivah. And that Gandharva Vivah means that those kind of marriage which was purely based upon the love and affection between a man and a woman, and there they didn't needed any consent of their family or in fact the society. So if a man and a woman were in love with each other, they had the right to get married, and such kind of marriages were called as Gandharva Vivah. Okay, and obviously with the development of living relationship, the concept of virginity, which has been still highly valued, has now also become outdated. But again, I would say that why it is highly valued, that because not recently, I mean, still, I'm fighting a divorce case from the behalf of women in Gurgaon District Court, and the only reason, you guys will be surprised, and trust me, I served to my professional career, that this was like, I was taken aback when I read the file, that the man wanted to divorce his wife. Why? Because she was in live-in relationship with someone prior to her marriage. Okay, and obviously she was not virgin, and these were the ground. And he started creating certain grounds that that women never used to behave properly with her, with the bride's parents, and with the groom's parents, and she never wanted to live with him. All those false stories, and luckily, in last 7 months, I was able to nullify all these facts, that the client, that the man, the husband is clearly lying, and the wife before her marriage has told each and everything about her past. It's just that after the marriage, there is some kind of, I would say, the masculinity or the chauvinism in his head. It erupted, and just after 3 months of the marriage, he said that he wants to end the marriage just on these grounds itself. And the opposite counsel, who has an experience of approximately like 22 to 23 years, and who is in fact the one of the, not one of the most, but the most renowned advocate in Gurgaon District Court, and he was also pinching on the fact regarding the virginity of a woman as a ground for divorce. And I was so happy that I just quoted these 3 judgments openly in the court. First was the Khushbu versus Kannimal in AIR 2010 Supreme Court judgment, then again the Veluswamy judgment and the Indra Sharma judgment, and focusing more on the Khushbu versus Kannimal judgment. Khushbu, the famous South Indian actress who pitched the idea that the virginity is again the outdated concept and the premarital sex is not immoral. And same thing was held in the Supreme Court also. Supreme Court also said that yes, if two consenting couple establish a physical relationship with each other with their consent, I mean obviously the consenting couple, and if they are adults, then it is not a crime. And again, and I'm extremely hopeful that on this part, within 2 to 3 months, I'm expecting an order on in the favor of my client, and that was the reason that why I decided that yes, I should take up this topic and just to just try to enlighten all of you regarding this part. So the judgment was again Khushbu versus Kannimal, AIR 2010 Supreme Court judgment. Okay. And if you want all those judgments again, you can definitely connect me on the LinkedIn, and I can provide you all the other details. So I have told you about the concept of marriage, how it developed. So first of all, congrats. Yes, Vaishnavi, almost, because I was like the judge was also a woman, and the judge was looking like this. Okay. And obviously she has to remain neutral, but I could have made out from her expression that yes, and obviously because he's such a he is one of the legend of our bar. So whenever he goes to court, so there are at least 12 to 13 juniors who follows him, and obviously they are part of his chamber also. So wherever he goes, he is followed by his whole team. And whenever I was raising the objection that, ma'am, please ask my fellow learned advocate to refrain making such statement, all his junior was like giving me this look. I was like, hell with you, give me that look. I don't care. I just want to fight this case properly. I just want to win it. And he was the one, even after giving a written submission, he was pitching just on the idea of virginity. And I was like, ma'am, irrespective of the fact, my client always have her Article 21 with her, which is right to life and dignity, and it is being now violated in front of you. So that was something that actually it went in my favor. So before again explaining, you see, the issue is that I will request everyone that the issue is why I'm taking so much time, and I'm giving you examples from all point of view. See, given my experience, it will just take 10 minutes to explain you each and everything regarding the live-in relationship. But the point is, if you have made up a mind to attend a webinar for 1 hour, so it is my duty that first I have to make you understand each and everything from all point of view. Like in the sociology, if you read sociology, there comes a concept of deviance. Deviance means, suppose there is a societal norm, a certain kind of behavior which has been accepted by the society, and if you go against that kind of behavior, you are called a deviant person. Okay, like for example, smoking or drinking, it is considered as immoral in the society, and if you are doing such things, then it is said that you are going against the values of the society. Okay, similarly, few decades back, the issues like intercaste marriage, interreligious marriage, widow remarriage, love marriage, women education were Vaishnavi at the end. Okay, were considered as the deviant behavior. But now, with the passage of time, when the society has started changing, when the society has started changing, it has become a trend. Similarly, child marriage was a norm few decades back. It is still in the practice in many parts of India. Okay, especially in the rural parts. But now child marriage, which was a practice few decades back, is now a deviant behavior with the passage of time, when the concept of deviance also changes when the dynamics on the social norms of the society changes. Similarly is the case with the live-in relationship. Okay, so now Let me again, because I'm a lawyer, not a philosopher, so it's my duty that to keep enlighten you regarding the legality also. So first of all, and yes, it was regarding the deviance. It was also held by the Supreme Court also, and the judgment was Lata Singh versus State of UP. Again, Lata Singh versus State of UP 2006. It was held by the court that even if legislation do not provide any provision, okay, even if, like, let me simplify it, the judgment said that even if there is no provisions in the law, that does not mean that some practice can become immoral, okay, or else it becomes or if even if or in the opposite way, the court also said that even if there is no provision, that will not again justify certain practice being illegal. Like, like for example, fake news. We don't have any laws for fake news, but that does mean, but does that mean that spreading fake news is good? No. Similarly, in that judgment, it was regarding the physical relation between two consenting adults. It was said that even if it does not have a provision in the law, it will not be immoral, because if two consenting adults are having sex or establishing physical relationship, it is not a crime, or neither it is unethical nor it is immoral if it is by the consent. The judgment was Lata Singh versus State of UP 2006. Similarly, 4 years after that, the concept of virginity and the premarital sex were again raised up, and this time also the Supreme Court, in its landmark judgment of Khushbu versus Kannimal, held the same. And you'll be surprised to know that because at that point of time, it was such a huge issue that 22 cases were slapped on that actress Khushbu. Okay, so now moving forward, yeah, I just want this one. So moving forward, is live-in relationship against the religious morality? As of now, we were talking about the societal morality, society and morality. Now, is the live-in relationship against the religious morality? No. I have talked about the muta marriage in Shia Muslims, Matri Karar custom in Gujarat. Similarly, there is one more custom which is called as Nath Pratha. It is all, and the practice of Nath Pratha is extremely similar with the live-in relationship also. And Nath Pratha is very famous in most of the part of Rajasthan and certain parts of Madhya Pradesh. So it is, if someone says that is live-in relationship against the religious morality, again the answer is no. Now, moving forward. Now let's discuss regarding the legal issues within live-in relationship. Now, what are the legal issues, and like for which you actually wanted to wanted to attend this webinar, are called are follows, and these are the issues of domestic violence in the live-in relationship, issues of child rights in the live-in relationship, issues of maintenance, and issues of adoption. Okay, and for these and all these things were also discussed, like these kind of issues were also highlighted in the one of the judgment of Delhi High Court, and it was the famous Alok Kumar judgment of Delhi High Court in 2009. And in that judgment, the Delhi High Court says that as live-in relationship is a easy walk-in walk-out relationship, so false allegation of rape cases or other domestic violence cases post breakup are eminent. We can see such kind of cases coming up in the court, and one of the party, either of the parties gets faces a lot of harassments due to that. The judgment was Alok Kumar judgment, year 2009, Delhi High Court judgment. And again, so now when we don't have any law, okay, now if you say that we don't have any law for like we don't have any laws for living relationships, so how come it got the legal sanctity? So it was the judgment of first the Veluswamy judgment as well as the Indra Sharma judgment. It was in the year 2011 and 12 respectively, and it was held that the section 2 subclause F of protection of women, so which section provides the legal sanctity to the live-in relationship with the way of judicial interpretation? It is the section 2 subclause F of protection of women of Domestic Violence Act 2005. The act which was made in 2005 for the protection of domestic violence women, that the section 2 subclause F provides the legal sanctity because it talks about the relationship which are the relationship which are marriage or similar to the marriage. So that this expression similar to the marriage, it provided the space to for the judiciary to interpret accordingly, and they recognized live-in relationship as valid. So yeah, with that basic purpose, like I said, it will just take like 10 minutes to explain you all these concepts. But the issue is, if you are giving time, you should be able to understand equivalent. And when the live-in was termed, it was termed in many judgments from the there are n number of judgments with the person who actually asked the question. From the whether it's the Madras High Court judgment, or I'll tell you those judgments later on. Don't worry. Okay. So it was those. It is this section which provides the legal sanctity of the marriage. Okay. And like I said, and famously, but before marriage, so let me just give you the chronology. So first, in 2010, the first judgment was Khushbu versus Kannimal judgment, which talked about the premarital sex and virginity issue. Then came the D. Veluswamy versus, if you just, because it's a South Indian name, so even if I pronounce, you might not be able to get it. If you just go to Google and search about this judgment, D. Veluswamy judgment, Supreme Court judgment, AIR, All India Reports, 2011 judgment. It says that here, the Supreme Court interpreted Section 2, subclause F of Protection of Women Domestic Violence Act, which says that the relationship in the nature of marriage, that phrase, that in the Supreme Court interpreted this section and provide the legal sanctity, and it gave certain kind of guidelines, or you can say that's observation, that both the couple should be of the marriageable age. They should be in the legal age of marriage. They should be living together with the consent. They should be living together as a spouse. And obviously, Supreme Court also said that the mere spending of few nights or casual sexual relationship will not amount to live-in relationship, but a couple residing together, sharing household activities, they're pooling their economic interest, like they're sharing financial resources of each other, and they are cohabiting with each other, and they're living together for a considerable period of time. Only then they will be recognized as a live-in relationship couple. Okay, so 2010-2011 judgment complete. Then came the Indra Swamy judgment, Indra Sharma versus VKB Sharma, AIR 2013. Indra Sharma versus V.K.V. Sharma, AIR 2013. Again, the Supreme Court gave the further, they broadened their guidelines regarding the live-in relationship, and it said that the duration of such relationship should be of a longer period. Okay, and even if two unmarried couple, men or women, or even of any gender, if they have lived together for a considerable period of time at any point of their life, like there are two people who have lived together as a couple for a period of 3 years, in their 20s, and if the dispute arises 10 years later, even those 3 years which they resided together will considered as a living relationship. Okay, and again, the pooling of the financial resource, it was very much similar to the Veluswamy judgment, because that was the landmark judgment. Okay, that there should be a domestic partnership, there should be a sexual relation between each other, and also if the children are born in that relationship, they acquire the same status of children of a married couple first. And even and also that the intention of the both the couples in the, like Indra Sharma judgment, the intention of the couples should be shown to everyone that they are residing together, and they all should also socialize in public as husband and wife. Only then such relationship are of such a living relationship are recognized, and they are treated as equivalent to marriage. Okay, so now this I covered. Now moving forward, the status of women in the inheritance of the property. In the judgment of Dhannu Lal versus Ganesh Raman, 2015. See, as of now, if there is a married couple, okay, and they separate. So after post their separation, the woman can ask for maintenance, and the husband has to provide maintenance to his wife. It is the general practice. And obviously, if it is a married couple and the husband dies, okay, then the woman inherits his property. But in living relationship, as of now, there exists no concept of maintenance. Okay, but regarding the inheritance, in the judgment which I just said, Dhannu Lal versus Ganesh Raman in the year 2015, it was held that post the death of the male partner, the women can inherit his property. Okay, in the Indra Swamy judgment, the status of children was clarified in the living relationship. In this judgment, again, it was clarified that post the death of a man, in a living relationship, the wife can inherit his property. And in the judgment of Badri Prasad versus Deputy Director of Consolidation in 1978, see, this judgment was one of the earliest judgment of a living relationship, and it actually established the basic precedent for all these, whether you would say the Khushbu's judgment, Veluswamy, Dhannu Lal judgment, or the Indra Sharma judgment. In this judgment, it said that the morality and criminality can never always be in coexistence. Like, if the Supreme Court, here the court meant that if something is immoral in the eyes of public, okay, but it cannot always be termed as a criminal activities. It was why? Because it was a couple who were residing together in 1978. But all these development which we see, I would say that it is only after the legislation of Protection of Women Domestic Violence Act, because that phrase, like a relationship is similar to the marriage, that phrase in section 2 subclause F of that act provided the area to interpret and provide the legal sanctity to live in relationship by the Supreme Court. Now, moving forward, in the one of the other landmark judgment, Madan Mohan Singh versus Rajnikant, 2010, again Supreme Court judgment, it was held that if a children is born in a living relationship, then it is not illegitimate children. Okay. Similarly, in the famous Bharat Mata, in the same year, in the Bharat Mata versus R. Vijay judgment, 2010, it was held that the children has the right to the children born in a living relationship has the right to inherit his or her father, his or her parental property. And also in the Vidyadhari versus Sukarna Bai in the year 2008, it was held that obviously it was held that the children born in a live-in relationship is their legal heir. Okay. So obviously, and moving in another judgment of Revna C. Dappa versus Malika Arjun, 2011, it was held that even if it was held that the children born in a live-in relationship, they are entitled to all the benefits equivalent to the children who are born from a married couple. Okay, and obviously these two judgments, I would like that I will speak slowly for this. Like Savita Bain versus State of Gujarat. Please note it down. Savita Bain versus State of Gujarat 2005 and Dimple Gupta versus Rajiv 2010. In both these judgments, it was a very important judgment that in both these judgments, it was held that the children who are born in a live-in relationship can also ask for maintenance until they attain the age of majority, which is 18 years of age, under which section? Under section 125 of CRPC. Okay, the judgments was, I will again repeat, Savita Bain versus State of Gujarat 2005, Dimple Gupta versus Rajiv 2010. Children born in a live-in relationship, they can also ask for maintenance until they attain the age of majority, which is 18 years of age. So these were the status of women and status of children in a live-in relationship. And again, I'll discuss this judgment and I'll elaborate this judgment in the later part. The judgment is Geeta Hariharan versus Reserve Bank of India, 1999. It was said that if in a live-in relationship, if there is a separation, then who will have the custody? Or else, who is the lawful guardian, or I would say the main guardian of the children which is born in a live-in relationship? When it was held in that judgment, I'll explain the other chronology when I discuss it, that it was held that the father is the lawful guardian of the child which is born in a live-in relationship. So now, because I have told you so many judgments, so now it's my time to discuss other things also. And these are, what are the pros of live-in relationship? First, it provides the freedom of choice. It gives the responsibilities and it actually prepares the person regarding their marriage and how he wants to live his life with that particular person. Obviously, and if that relationship doesn't work out, it is very easy to dissolve with the mutual consent. And again, it is the live-in relationship is the most beneficial for LGBTQ community and also most beneficial for the people who wants to do intercaste marriage or inter-religious marriage, because that's where it provides them ample amount of opportunity and the choices. Okay, but now what are the pros of marriage over live-in relationship? Because see, I would say the society is still immature. Live-in relationship is not widely accepted as of now also. So obviously, for a married couple, they get a better legal and social recognition. There is no stigma attached, which is there in the live-in relationship. They get the constant emotional and moral support from the family. Again, regarding the development of offspring, they get more support from the society as well as the family. So there is no stigma attached, or the child never faces such kind of trauma that, parents are in the living relationship with no fault his or her own. And it is just because of the low mindset of the society. Okay. So, and obviously proper statutory protection is there for the women regarding the violence, regarding the separation, regarding the succession act. So now, very quickly, what are the legal issues at present in the legal live-in relationship? First is the adoption. Can a couple in live-in relationship adopt? Then the answer is no. Not as of now, because adoption of children are, a pan-religion is regulated by the Juvenile Justice Act 2015. Okay, the new act. And in 2018, the CARA, if you have read the family law, you must have come across this term CARA, which is Child Adoption Resource Authority. It said that although there is a provision that single parent can adopt the children, but still there is no legislation which allows that a live-in relationship can also a couple in a live-in relationship can also adopt a children. Similarly, regarding the surrogacy facilities, again the live-in relationship couples are barred from taking surrogacy facilities as of now. Okay, regarding the maintenance, only in the special circumstances, if if the woman has been living with the man for a considerable period of time, and post separation she doesn't have a means of livelihood, then on the humanitarian ground the court allows it, but it is not in a general practice. And also, like if in a living relationship, because if you read the Indra Sharma judgment again, it says that two unmarried couple. So as of now, it was the judgment of Kushum or some, I'm not able to recollect the name. It was versus the state of UP in 2016. If you research in SSC online, you will find the name of the judgment. It said that if one of the spouse was married, during the live-in relationship, then such live-in relationship will not be recognized, and the benefit, if any partner wants to attain some benefit from such kind of live-in relationship, then they won't get it, because the court is not recognizing such kind of marriage, obviously. And regarding the inheritance, then according to the Dharnulal versus Mallikarjun judgment 2015, the child can inherit the property of his parents, of his or her parents, but post separation, as of now, there is no provisions for maintenance or inheritance for the women. But yes, post the death of the husband, post the death of the male partner, the women can inherit the property, but not the post separation part. Now, again, I said that I'll discuss the judgment of Geeta Hariharan regarding the child. Sorry. I just got pinched. Regarding the child custody. So earlier in the Geeta Hariharan, it was held that the father is the lawful guardian, but it was overturned in the Indra Sharma judgment, or we can say it was paraphrased, and it was held that that among both the partners, between the men and the women, whosoever is more fit to maintain the children, okay, or to take care of the children, will get the custody of the children. It is not that only the men will get father will get the custody of the children, or the women will get the custody of the children. Okay, and to come across this conclusion, the Supreme Court relied on one of the other judgment, which was Shyam Rao Maruti versus Deepak 2008 judgment. It said that to take care the upbringing of the children, it is the duty of the state, and it comes under the concept of welfare. So, if the person who is more capable of taking care of the children should get the custody of such children, or the court can also appoint a lawful guardian. Okay. Now, what is the impact? I would say that now summarizing it, that it is live-in relationship is not at all in the violation of any religious morality or societal morality. But now, what are the challenges? See, as of now, I discussed what are the legal issues which are faced by the which are faced in the live-in relationship. But now, what are the challenges which the people face in the live-in relationship? First is the rental issue, because as of now, if you see, if you want to go to take a home or a flat or PG for a rent, usually single people don't get a rental property easily. It is, just book. Most of the society, what they do is that the accommodation will be given on rent only to the married couple. Okay, because of the some of the indisciplinary issues which are caused by the single people. But that's a different thing. See, as of now, we know that we don't have any legislation for LGBTQ community, especially for their regarding their marriage. We have made laws for the transgender community, but for the homosexual community, after the Navtej Singh Johar judgment, even after the Navtej Johar judgment of 2018, still there exists no concept of there exists no concept of homosexual marriage in India. So as of now, live-in relationship remains the only option for the homosexual couples, and getting rent on a live-in relationship is a very humongous task, and that too for homosexual couple, it is like next to they face a lot of discrimination and difficulty in getting their accommodation, getting their house. Okay, so this is the first challenge, and unlike if you see the laws of other countries like UK and USA, there also live-in relationship are recognized, and they have, just like in India, we have Special Marriage Act, which was drafted way back in 1955 regarding the marriage of two people belonging from two different religions. Okay, so similarly, we can adopt the similar provision which is practiced in USA and UK regarding the cohabitation agreement. That where the one couple jot down a cohabitation agreement that we both are going to live together for this many period, and after that, if they feel, they can get married or they can continue their thing. So such thing doesn't exist in India. And again, another challenge which live-in relationship couple face is the stigma regarding their sexual life, regarding their caste issue, regarding their religion, and the biggest threat which they face is the issue of honor killing in India and the weak witness protection law. So these are the challenges which are faced by the live-in relationship, and these are the social issues. Now, come to the other. If we look at the other issues, see why there is no laws for live-in relationship in India. Okay, I would say that society is still immature. The society still considers live-in relationship as a stigma, and politician who has the duty to make law also comes from the same society. So they also carries a similar mindset, just like any other person in the society. So this is the biggest hindrance regarding regarding that why we don't have any laws for live-in relationship in India. Okay, and also they don't get a lot of support from their families also. And again, the another challenges which is faced by the live-in relationship couple is that the religious leader, they not only oppose the idea of homosexuality, but they also oppose the idea of live-in relationship. So it is another challenge which is faced by the live-in relationship couples. And moving forward, what is the basic reason for that? It is, I would say, the education system. Education system in India, which was supposed to be socialist in nature, which was supposed to reform the human mind. That is the basic purpose of, I would say that that's the basic purpose of the education. But given the commercialization of education, and now the expensive education is there, now all the education, such ideas are not at all discussed in the school level, which should be there. Okay, and today the education system has become like, it has just become a job-oriented education, which is not the basic purpose of the education. So it is one of the biggest reasons. Okay, and now challenges for the judges regarding the live-in relationship. It's that just similar to the politician, the judges also come from the same society, and they don't have any laws to interpret in most of their issues, the issues which I have told you. They just got the legal sanctity because of Section 2F of Domestic Violence Act 2005. But as of now, they don't have any proper legislation to interpret most of their problem, which I have told you just now. And another problem with the judiciary, the problem which is faced by the judiciary is that a judge can pass an order. Okay, it is the executive and legislature which have to comply with that. And in the from the past, we can say that there are so many orders which where the judiciary has given their judgment, but it is still not which is still not executed by the executive, which is our civil servants and the politicians. And the famous judgment is the Tehseen Poonawalla judgment. The famous mob lynching judgment, okay, where the Supreme Court said that there should be laws on the mob lynching, and still approximately in July to and July 18, coming July to 18, it will complete 3 years, and still we don't have any laws on the mob lynching. If you see the Vishakha judgment, it took 16 years for the legislature to draft a law on sexual harassment at the workplace after the Vishakha judgment. So it is another challenge by challenges with the judges face, that judges has given the order that we recognize live-in relationship as legal, but the legislature is not complying with that order. Okay. In the future reference, you can contact me on the LinkedIn. Okay, and obviously the biggest sufferer are the homosexual community, because and also the transgender community, because since the start they have never been included in the society. Okay, since this start they have also faced they have always faced discrimination, and live-in relationship is in fact was one of the tools through which we can grow the inclusiveness. Okay, so now I'll take few more 2-3 minutes more, and then I'll take your questions. So now the final recommendations to improve the live-in relationship. As of now, we strictly need a law on live-in relationship. Okay, just like we have a law on the Special Marriage Act. Okay, similarly, we can have such laws on live-in relationship, and like cohabitation, which includes the concept of cohabitation agreement and all. Okay, and before that, the biggest challenge remains with the 3 words which is there in the preamble: we the people. It is the challenge. The biggest challenge is with us only, because tomorrow legislature can go and make the law. It is the masses of the India, or the majority of the people, who have to first accept the law, because until unless we don't accept the law, we will not follow it, which we can see in the lockdown. The clear violation. But I'll give you a better example: Dowry Prohibition Act. This year, Dowry Prohibition Act will complete its 50 years of existence. And have we eradicated the what I say, that have we eradicated the social level of dowry? No. How many dowry deaths are registered in 1 year? Close to 9,000. 9,000 dowry deaths in 1 year. It is the failure of the law. Why? Because we as a society doesn't want to give up the practice of dowry. The groom still wants huge dowry. The boy's family still wants the huge dowry for their son. So unless and until we don't eradicate the words from the dowry from our psyche, the law will just remain on the paper. Okay, it is, and I strongly fear that the laws on the live-in relationship will can face such kind of result, just like Dowry Prohibition Act. So apart from making laws on the live-in relationship, what are the other things which we can do to provide proper remedy? Is that strong amendment should be made in section 498A of Indian Penal Code, and it should include the live-in relationship also. Similarly, the amendment if you read that the Malimat committee, which was made in the 2003, it was made for to provide recommendations for the police reform, and it provided reforms for this also, that we need to amend the section 125 of CRPC. Okay, and we have to include, along with the wife, children, and people of old age, we have to include, along with the marriage, we have to also include the live-in relationship also. And also section 2 subclause F of Domestic Violence Act, which actually provided the space in the for the live-in relationship. It also needs further modification for interim relief, just like in the divorce proceedings, the wives get the interim relief, okay, for the maintenance. Similar provisions needs to be added in Domestic Violence Act also. And obviously we need till the time we don't have any laws for a live-in relationship, we just like Special Marriage Act, as I've told you earlier also, that we need laws for the cohabitation agreement, which can include all those things like regarding the adoption, surrogacy, and maintenance, child rights, and custody of the children, maintenance, and everything. And again, last but not the least, government needs to hold proper meeting with the religious leader should the term live-in relationship reduce to get the I'll take the questions at the end. So government needs to conduct a regular meeting with the religious leader also, okay, so that we can so that they don't face threats, life threats in the future, or they don't face huge discrimination. And also we need the other amendments which it is required for the live-in relationship is the regarding the Succession Act, which I have told you that child can inherit the property, but it is the problem arises with the women. And regarding the adoption also, the live-in relationship couple should be given permission to adopt the children. And again, this is the last recommendation, that the advisory committee also needs to be set up in every district, so that which registered the live-in relationship couples in a district, and if there is a breakup in the live-in relationship, they can register that in the advisory committee, and proper counseling is also provided. Regarding their breakup and post their life, so that that post their life they don't go and keep on filing cases against each other. So again, just making the law is not important, but creating such committees are also extremely important. And lastly, the three issues which I had raised earlier in this webinar were that is the live-in relationship against the morality? No. Is just a second. Are the present legal setups? Yes. Just a second now. So are the present laws sufficient to take care of live-in relationship? Again, no. And is the live-in relationship a perfect alternative for marriage? Then the answer is yes. Now I can take the questions. Okay. Just see in your chats in call messages. So congratulations. Yes, Vaishnavi, you can ask a question. Yeah, but Mahima, the question was that also when the live-in relationship term that equivalent to marriage, we have to make provisions regarding that. So we can, and Prerna has asked that, sir, we could say that the custody of children will be decided on the basis. Yes, the custody of the children as it was held in the I've just told you the name of the judgment that it is going to be decided first in the Indra Sharma judgment also that it based on the case to case basis, and the person who is more sufficient to handle who is more sufficient to take care of the children will get the custody. We can get the should be term. And Mahima, your second question is that should the live-in relationship be reduced to get the status? No, it is not required. Instead, we need more recognition regarding that. Yes, Vaishnavi, you can ask your question. I think Vaishnavi has left the meeting. No issues. So, is there any other question you can ask, or else? Okay, Vaishnavi has just asked. Not having physical relationship between a married couple can lead, yes, it can be a ground for divorce, because not providing, because it's a important factor of the marriage also. Okay.
So thank you so much.
And yes, any other questions, or we can then end the session there.
So thank you so much for putting the light on such an amazing topic. With this, we have reached the end of our session. I request founder of Legit Leaders, Kashish Gupta, and co-founder Mehul Bansal to deliver the vote of thanks to our guests.
Good afternoon, sir. My name is Mehul Bansal and I am the co-founder of the organization Legit Leaders. I I hope today everyone has learned a lot from you today. And sir, I really thank you for the same. Now I would like to pass the mic to Kashish, the founder of the organization, to deliver the final vote of thanks and end the session.
Thank you so much, Mehul. Nevertheless, a teacher with certainty, he can never tell where his influence stops. Greetings of the day, everyone. Today, I, Kashish Gupta, the founder of Legit Leaders, on behalf of entire team, would like to extend my heartfelt thanks to Sir for such an informative session on the burning issue of living relationships in India. I would also like to thank all the attendees, the moderator Ms. Ananya Bansal, and my entire team for sparing their time from a busy schedule and making this event a great success. Special thanks to Radhika, Ujjwal, Yashu, Sanchi, and Madhvan from my team for their hard work. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Now all the attendees, we will be starting with our rapid fire round shortly. So we request you to wait for 2 minutes.
Rapid fire.
So that we will be taking that quiz round and we'll be giving
Okay. Okay.
Yes, sir. So I hope all the attendees have already seen that video that how to join the quiz. If not, I'll be showing you that video. Just give me a moment. Mehul, is the video visible? Okay, Mahima. Mahima, I think it's visible. Yes. Okay.
The judgment was, Vaishnavi, if you're there, the judgment was Shyamrao Marothi's judgment, which I have said, but I was not able to recollect it. Okay.
So guys, I hope you all are clear with the video. And now I'll be sharing your unique codes in the chat box itself along with your name. So just give me 2 to 3 minutes and we appreciate your patience. So guys, thank you so much everyone for attending the test and waiting for so long. The results of the rapid fire round are: the first prize goes to Sonakshi Singla. She has scored 80% and has taken the time of 1 minute 54 seconds to attend the quiz. Second prize goes to Shalini Kopula. She has also scored 80% and has taken 1 minute 58 seconds. Third prize goes to Shreya Patel. She has scored 60% and has taken the time of 1 minute 28 seconds. Fourth prize goes to Mayank. He has scored 60% and has taken the time of 1 minute 30 seconds. And the fifth prize goes to Sonal Bhaskar. She has scored 60% and has taken the time of 1 minute 47 seconds. Congratulations to all the winners from entire team of Legit Leaders, and thank you so much for your love and support. Signing off, Kashish Gupta, founder team Legit Leaders.
Thank you, sir.
A request and one request to all the attendees present here to follow our social media pages to get more exciting updates about such exciting events. And also we are coming up with the new workshops. So do attend and register for each and everything because learning is a never ending process and it should never be stopped. Thank you.